Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Painting Time. I'm David Chatowsky. Today, on this episode, we're going to be painting a great horned owl. And to start off with, I've mixed up some blue, and I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to block in the canvas with this blue. Great horned owls are found throughout the state of Rhode Island. They hunt, they're birds of prey, and they hunt rats, small mammals like squirrels, but being active at night, one prey item that the great horned owl will feed on that is skunks, and a lot of people don't know that. I'm coming to what's going to be the ear feathers of the great horned owl. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my brush, turn my brush on edge like that, and use it kind of like a pencil and draw the owl like that. See how I turn my brush on edge from going from flat, because I want to cover a lot of area. I want to cover area, but when I get to where I want to draw, I want to turn my brush like this, turn my brush on edge. Okay, now with acrylic paint, you use water as a medium to loosen the paint so that it spreads much easier. And again, now my brush is flat. And I'm just filling in this area. This is going to be the background. And as you can see, I'm leaving this area right here. I'm leaving that area because I'm going to have the owl roosting on a tree, or not necessarily roosting, but sitting on a tree. Now I just mixed a little white with this blue, and I'm going to creep into, I'm not going to worry too much about what's going on. I'm just going to do it because it is the moon and it is the cosmos, and so that in itself is, that in itself is fantastic. So I just mixed a little bit of white to this blue, and I crept in closer and closer to the moon here, and I'm being light with my strokes. I'm more or less just letting nature take its course, because when you try to fabricate some of this stuff, it doesn't come off as well as if you just keep painting from the heart and just go with it. So we're closer. So now if I can clean that up a little bit, we can have, one thing about owls and, that with this, what I'm trying to make is, I'm painting a painting of the great horned owl, but owls can have a feeling that goes with them, because they are, especially the great horned, first of all, they're powerful, they're active at night, they are not a joke. So now we're going to focus in on the details of the owl. So if you've watched my show before, you know that I'm really particular. I'm very keen on the eyes, and the reason I say that is because that if you can capture the eyes, it really, especially with owls and birds of prey, there's a lot of intensity with those eyes. So I'm not going to hesitate. I'm just going to go right in and paint the eyes of the owl. And this owl is really charged up. And for example, he may have just heard something, and so he is really keen on. He's listening, and he's going to check out whatever he heard, whether it be another owl, and owls are extremely territorial. So he's going to, or it could be a rabbit coming out of the bush, and everything depends on this owl, if him finding out everything around its environment. Now you probably know, and now I'm going to go with the feathers on this black is going to be the outline of the feathers on its facial, what is called the facial disc of the owl. And I'm going to get in close, and I'm just going to bounce my hand a little bit on the canvas because I need to pull a line, and I can't be all over the place because these are pretty specific, these lines. And then we're going to just, because I have the black, I'm just going to bounce up, and I'm going to shade one side of the beak like that. And this will help because beaks can be difficult to do. And I'll just grab a little bit of white, and I'll show you what I mean. If you shade just one side and then go after the other side by just adding a little bit of white, it helps you, it helps make that beak. And then I'm going to leave, and I got fortunate there, because I'm going to leave that center line where I didn't paint. Just going to leave that for right now because that's going to show the curvature of the beak. And so that's how you make it. Beaks can be kind of tricky. Now we're going to go after, I'm going to go after something real, I'm going to go after the owl's eyes. Great horned owls have black eyes and yellow irises. So I'm going to go after his iris, able to smoothly go where I want it to go. Yeah. So just like that. So now that we have this color, this is a sienna brown, and I just had a little bit of yellow on my brush, and that sienna brown is what I'm going to paint around the face of this owl, because that's their coloration. And I am going to, so we're working on getting the coloration of the animal, and that's when you're identifying birds out in the field, the coloration is really important. Obviously, if this was a snowy owl, it wouldn't have this sienna brown and on its face like I'm putting in, nor would it have the big feathers on the top. Those are distinguishing characteristics of the great horned owl. Now, what's really interesting about the great horned owl, what I find is really interesting about the great horned owl, is that in the daytime, if you see a red-tailed hawk, that area most likely is hunted at night by a great horned owl. They live in the same habitat, and those are like indicators that a great horned owl would be in that vicinity. The great horned owl hunts where the red tail hunts in the day. A good color for the great horned owl is buff buff on the chest. And so to make buff, I use some raw umber and white, and then I added a little bit of Naples yellow. So that's how I made that. And to see how I do that, that's a nice buff color. And what we'll do is, this is like a safe color to put on this bird, because one, this is you could consider this what is called the ground. So what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for the future, and this is a really safe, nondescript color that the bird has on them. Now they have naturally they have a lot of details and different coloration going with their feathers. Their feathers make that. So what we have to do is we have to start with a little buff, and we're going to sneak that. You know, we're making this animal, so we're going to sneak that up, and then what I'll do, I'll just add a little bit of brown to that, just a little bit of burnt umber, and then I'm going to take this right up along. All I did was add a little bit of burnt umber, and I'm going to take that. And you see how I made this? I made this shape of the backside of the owl's head by this blue being pressed up against this line, which I made, which you saw me make with the brush like this. So I have a shape here. Now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to fill in that shape, which will become the back side of the owl's head. And I don't want to get too, you know, I want to kind of take my time doing that, because, you know, those lines, those real quick lines of black and whatnot, and even like the little bit of this burnt sienna, all that comes into play. You know, it comes into play, and you'd be amazed at. I think you'd be amazed at the genius of the human mind moving the paintbrush, and you think it's just like a real fluid, you know, like not thinking mark, but the mind is calculating what it's doing, and sometimes, not sometimes, but a lot of times, you can paint over, which is not a good thing to do. You can paint over what is really exceptional painting by thinking that it's, you know, it's just too early in the early stages. So again, that you know that you have to work harder to make the painting than it is. See how I did that? You know, that's capturing the side of the owl's head. That's it. So then we're going to take this same color, this buff color, and we're going to, so we have to make it look like this owl has feathers going out of its head. So I'm going to continue on with the same buff coloration like this, going up, same on this side, right? That's going to give an indicator to the viewer that this is still part of the owl. And then I'm going to bring in a little black, and I'm going to darken that, and I'm going to add some black to that, like that. Same thing on the other side. You know, just for I'm just going to darken this. So what you do is you constantly, I'm just going to darken this, and I'm going to just bring a line around right here. I'm just going to darken that like that, and I'm going to bring a line like this. You know, this helps the viewer. This helps everybody distinguishing the characteristics. Then I'm going to take that same, that's just a little bit of burnt umber and a little bit of black, and that's it. And I'm going to add a little raw umber to that, and then I'm just going to make little marks like this. I'm going to start small, right? I'm going to start small, and I'm not going to get carried away. But they fan out into space. They're going to fan out into space, and that's going to be, those are the colors of the top of his head. And so that's going to be white. You see how I did those little, just little ticks with my brush. I just touched it. That's all I did. I just touched it with the brush. You know, I created the ground, and then I went back into that. And that's the same. This is a different, this I pulled in an arc like this, and then down here I made what's a scallop. I use a scallop. I'll show you. Like this, you scallop for those breast feathers. You just make a scallop, and they're not all the same. But you see, I started with my ground, the buff, and I'm just making little scallop like that. And so, as I wasn't even thinking about it, with this brown that I made to make these little scalloping marks, this brown is a good brown to make the back of the wings. And then, so that's really positive, because this is a big area, and you want to do it right. You want to do, so what I would do is, what I will do is do just the opposite. Go with this darker brown here, and then even darker there, and then use a light to bring out the feathers. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So, but that's already recognizable as a great horned owl. So, if you see, this is a good identification. These birds are located throughout the state of Rhode Island, and one thing that these large predators, birds of prey, are very, very good at is keeping the rodent population in check. So they play a part of the ecosystem that's really important. So we're going to start with his wing, and just what I said. I use that brown. I like that brown, and I'm going to go like this. And then I'm going to, and that right there is the shoulder of the bird. There. Nice. And I added a little more brown to give the curvature of the wing, like this. You got to create depth. Then we're going to take that same brown, and we're going to bring, these are going to be his wing feathers in like this, like that, like that, and what I'll do is I'll just clean this area up, because that white is distracting to the eye of the viewer. See that? Just clean that area up, because the viewer's eye, a lot of the times the viewer's eye will go to the unfinished or say the weaker areas of the painter. They'll just go right to it. You know, you can paint the Mona Lisa, but if you leave one part unfinished, they'll let you know. All right, and so now just for some modulation, I have my ground. I just got to create a little lighter, so, and we know these are all feathers, and that's it. And so now I have a little darker beige, and I'm going to just creep that into the belly and kind of blend that like that. Just blend it. And that if you're constantly doing that, that will create the depth. And you got to remember that these birds, feathers are they're all over the place. They're all over the place. So the more you do this, the more relaxed you are, the more realistic the painting will be. So here's the back of its. Here's going to be the back of its tail. So now to do this tail, I'm going to darken this tail in, and I'm going to make it. I'm not going to add too much black, but I'm going to add my burnt sienna. I want to make this area dark. This is going to be the end of the bird right here. And then but why I have the black on my brush, I'm going to paint the talons. There's one. Now, and that's two. And I'm just turning my brush. These are going to be the talons of the great horned owl. And they got to be for real, because this is how the bird captures its game. And I'm going to just, to get a little more control, I'm going to go down to a smaller brush. And I'm going to just go down to a smaller brush. It's a big area, and there's a lot of room. But you can't be, the talons are kind of specific, so you can't be all over the place. And one more, and we got it. All right. Yeah, that bird means business. And so I'm going to continue this. This is going to be a tree right there. Yeah. That's going to be the tree limb that he's on. We're off to a very good start on the painting of the great horned owl. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to do today is introduce you to a great friend of mine, Stephen Leighty. He's going to be playing some wonderful music for us here on Painting Time. So please join with us for Stephen Leighty, a great friend and musician. Thank you.
Predator lives amongst the leaves. Crane your neck if you want to see the great horned owl in an old pine tree. Hear him go. He sleeps all day and he hoots all night. In the dusky dawn, you'll hear him alright. Dark darkened eve, you might glimpse the sight of the great horned owl in forest flight. Here it goes. His tufted ears hear rabbits in the grass. Those big yellow eyes see the mice scurry past. Feathered wings, he's a silent flyer. Up the night sky, the great horned owl's a tiger. Here we go. Here we go.
That was an amazing song by Stephen Leighty on the Great Horned Owl. It's so nice to hear these songs and the music and look at the painting of the Great Horned Owl. As you can see, I finished it, and the Great Horned Owl is a very large owl located here in Rhode Island, and he hunts they hunt at night. They feed on from rabbits to mice to they'll even eat skunks. And as you can tell, the distinguishing characteristics about this owl are the two feathers on the top of its head. Gives it the name the Great Horned Owl. And these are not horns, they're actually feathers, and they're located right up here, these two right here. This owl I have painted in a birch tree, and the full moon is in the top right corner. This is painted in acrylic paint, and to finish the painting, I really focused on painting it more opaquely and zeroing in on the details, such as putting in the little feathers around the eyes and just tightening up the painting. So I painted from very loosely, just very loosely, to narrowing in and getting more specific and more specific on the owl. A very interesting natural occurrence that I think is from where you see great horned owls that hunt at night. In the day, you will see the red-tailed hawk. So where you see a red-tailed hawk in the day, most likely there's a great horned owl that hunts at night. Now, owls keep in check the rodents, which is very helpful, and they can be heard. This owl can be heard in the wintertime, starting its courtship in December and January and into February. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the painting time as we painted the great horned owl. And if you see at night a large owl with two feathers on the top of the head, you have seen the great horned owl. Thank you so much. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.